sofa shop is the only stop for the sofa you need. The sofa shop, yeah, come and drop in. We have a sofa designed for you. Choose your fabrics, match your curtains too. The sofa shop ain't gonna cost what you think it will. Don't you do a thing until you see the sofa shop.
There you go, Tim. You wanted a country version of the sofa shop. You'd not just hinted, you'd almost demanded one.
I demanded, yes, and I've received.
You have, and that was from a civilian recording under the assumed name of Chip Endale IV, as in Chip Endale.
Yep.
Very clever, Chip.
I think that was impressive. Look, I think that's country. That's certainly country and Western. There's country music and there's country and Western music, and I think that's definitely hint of Western that's in there.
What's the difference?
Well, Australia has country music, and I think other countries do. I guess it's more folk music, and, you know, the Irish might have that music. But when it comes to country and Western, it's very American, and I think it's all in the accent, yeah. And the fiddles get involved, and you can imagine a hoedown. You know, it's very much...
I don't even know what a hoedown is, but all right.
But you get the idea, don't you? I'm not entirely sure either.
Yeah.
but it is the right word. I'm convinced of it.
So when I saw the email and said, oh, look, here's a country version for you, and I clicked on it thinking, oh, not really knowing what was coming, I was so impressed by how much like a country Western singer it sounded, like the voice. Like it sounded like a professional country singer. I don't think Chip is a professional country Western singer, but it sounded like it.
Yes. No, very impressive.
Yeah.
It's I think we all like to think we can do a country and Western voice if really pushed.
Yeah. You don't need much pushing.
No.
Gentle nudge.
But no, very impressive. Very impressive.
So we have a bunch more Sofa Shop covers coming at the end of the show like we did last time. There's some real crackers, people, so it's worth hanging around for.
Totally, absolutely. Very impressive, yes.
I think people are really learning what Tim likes and pandering to his tastes, so we'll get to that later.
I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Also, make sure you hang around for Tim's spoon of the week later, because that's also a real good spoon. Like, absolute top shelf spoon.
Oh, yes.
Top drawer, I should say.
That's right. You won't put your spoons on the shelf. No. That's right. I almost felt I needed to go out and get some white gloves because handling this particular spoon, I mean, it's a real treasure.
Oh, it's amazing.
Souvenir. I know they're all souvenirs, strictly speaking, but this is a special souvenir.
I don't want to hype it up too much, but let's just say there are security guards standing outside Tim's door right now. But anyway, let's crack on with the normal show.
Yes, let's do it.
Just for people wondering, I am still locked in my hotel room, by the way, in Adelaide. Tim and I are both in Adelaide. We're just a couple of miles apart, but I'm still in the compulsory quarantine that you will have heard about on the last special episode. So still another 8 days until we get to record in the same room. But for the meantime, we're enjoying this lack of delay, both recording in Adelaide. It's amazing.
Impressive. Do you know what I think would be interesting? A podcast conversation done on either side of one of those screens in the visitors centre of a jail. You know, we made reference last time to you being in jail. Yeah. You know how they have those little, you lift up a little telephone thing?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. That would be... What if you can get access to one of those just to do a podcast?
And maybe the whole point of the podcast would be trying to smuggle drugs to the person on the other side.
You probably wouldn't say that up front.
No. Oh, you meant doing it in an actual jail.
Did you get those drugs?
I didn't realise you meant doing it in an actual jail. Yeah, that joke suddenly seems a lot more risky.
Yeah.
I thought you meant just setting up a booth like that and having two hosts either side. If you mean an actual... Just for the record, I do not condone the smuggling of drugs into jails.
We're clear. We're clear on that.
Just in case the immigration... I may not get out of this room otherwise.
That's right. That's why the real reason why you're in a hotel. This is what they do with drug smugglers now. They put them up in nice hotels.
I wouldn't describe Australian border forces as like particularly jokey, so I don't want them to hear the podcast and sort of think.
No, it's a serious matter. But let's say, for instance, they were upgrading a jail, and you know how you sell old furnishings and tables and filing cabinets, and they decided, hey, what are we going to do with these, telephone visitation booth things? And one came up on, eBay. You could buy it, and you could sit on either side.
There'd be podcasters all over the world snapping them up.
Oh, it would. Totally.
Yeah. There'd suddenly be a glut of podcasts all filmed in those visitation booths.
Visitation booths.
Oh, not another podcast filmed in a jail visitation booth.
No, that's right.
What would you most want to buy if, like, a closing down jail was having a clearance sale?
Oh, I don't know. It depends on the jail. Some jails go back, 100 years. So there's some sort of cool, ancient-y kind of stuff,
Yeah.
But then again, there's not a lot of nice soft furnishings or anything, is there? Like, it's not like, I'd want to have their old NBA Jam machine. It's like, well, we don't have one of those.
What about one of the big, barred doors that slide shut? That cliche sliding shut of a jail door. Why don't you get two of them and put them on your girls' bedroom doors? So when you put them to bed, you then just go woof at the end of each night.
Good night. Vroom. That's right. You could feed them. That's the thing you feed through as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And when they're like not happy with you, they could get a metal cup and rake it across the bars to make that noise that prisoners make when they're not happy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. It's like you're grounded. Yeah. Speaking of jails, hang on. This story will be better if I.
Don't tell it.
I think the nicest prison guard in history would have to be Tom Hanks in The Green Mile.
I watched that a week ago, and I have a podcast idea based on Tom Hanks in The Green Mile.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's one heck of a segue. Well done, Tim.
I wasn't gonna do that idea, because I haven't fully fleshed it out yet. But yeah, so yes, I do know Tom Hanks, prison guard in The Green Mile, and yes, he's a very decent man.
That's right. Apart from that sort of outlier bad guard, they're all just the nicest, kindest guys, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they make me want to get executed.
That's right. Death row and hang out with these lovely guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're all. You're right. They're all lovely. What a lovely death row that was. All right. So, was that your story? What was your story?
That was my story. I just couldn't remember the name of the film. So I was like,
right.
I don't want to go that. Tom Hanks in that film. What is it?
So your story was Tom Hanks was nice in The Green Mile.
Yeah. Now, why was I telling that?
Not exactly a story full of twists and turns, was it?
Are you following the story?
It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. Tom Hanks is nice in The Green Mile.
Let's just probably, for any other person, it's a dark and sinister film. It's like, let's make Tom Hanks that guy. And then suddenly it turns into this heartwarming tale. Yeah.
Cracking film. I may come back to my idea based on the film another time. I'm not going to do it today because I haven't got my other ducks in a row.
Oh, okay. What do you do when you to get your ducks in a row? Like, you haven't fleshed it out in your mind. You need to sit and think. The Green Mile.
Yeah, I need a good 10 minutes preparation time.
Oh.
No, Tom Hanks in that film is an example of something, and I want to have another 5 or 6 examples before I can, share the idea. Anyway, let's, instead of talking about ideas we're going to do in the future, let's do ideas now. Who's going first today? Who's got a podcast idea to go first?
Well, I'll go first.
Okay.
And I know everyone's disappointed, but I'm going to go ahead.
Only because they want to save the best for last.
I can hear a collective.
You can hear 20,000 skip buttons being pressed in unison.
It's like, skip forward to the ad.
Tim's great in the ads. That's his best material.
Well, this is kind of my point, because I was thinking about the last podcast we did where we did proper ideas, not the balcony episode, but going back. and then the one before that, and the one before that. And I was thinking, you know what? I'm in a slump. I've got to be honest.
You're in a slump.
I'm in a slump.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I admitted that I was to myself that I was in a slump, suddenly it hit me a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
A podcast idea called In a Slump, where we tell stories. You have people on who are either in a slump, who can do great things and are either in a slump or have recently been through a slump, and talk about how they came through it, how they lost their mojo, where they think it went, what started happening, what circumstances, and then how they came out the other side. How did they find their form? And
You've had another idea like this, haven't you? Like, wasn't there one called like "Had It, Lost It" or something? Like, you know, where we talked about Robert De Niro.
did I?
Sorry, man. The slump continues.
Damn it! This was going to be my way out of the slump. This idea was genius. It's just perpetuating the slump.
It is slightly different from that idea, because in that one, I think you were talking about people that were once good that aren't good anymore.
Yeah.
Here, there is like there is a redemption story.
I think so. Yeah.
People
Like
get, and because you could talk about how they got out of the slump.
how did they find their form again? That's it. I was thinking more sports people for this, because famously, like, form slumps occur with great people who can bowl or can bat or can pitch. You know what I mean? Who just suddenly, for some reason, can't anymore. They lose it, and you wonder what is going on, and they're just in a massive slump. There's some famous ones I know in cricket history where great batsmen just suddenly are getting out very, very early rather than making the hundreds and 50s that they normally do, and you're just like, what on earth is going on? And then suddenly they make a century, and it's glorious again. And
I think one of the most famous ones in cricket was a very famous and great Australian batsman called Greg Chappell, who in the early 1980s had this run of ducks. A duck is when you get out for zero in cricket. It's called getting out for a duck. And he got like 7 or 8, and like loads of them were in a row during a streak of innings. And he was just getting duck after duck after duck.
It's in the air and he's gone out, caught at mid-wicket. Well, that's a tremendous blow there. In Australia, Chappell out straight away for naught, caught at mid-wicket. Well, 2 ducks for Greg Chappell.
People thought, is this guy ever going to score a run again? And he's one of the most prolific run scorers in Australian cricket history. So that's an often referenced batting slump, Greg Chappell's run of ducks.
And he's gone, first ball. That's his 4th consecutive duck.
there was one in the 90s as well, wasn't there, with Tubby Taylor. He just went through a whole period, even though he was the captain and still in the team because he was such a good captain, but just couldn't bat to save his life. How long did that go on for? Do you remember? Was that years?
I'm just looking at something here. It was during the 1981-82 season. He had
That was Chappell.
Yeah, he had to run 7 ducks, including 4 in a row in 15 internationals.
And he's bowled him. Greg Chappell gone cheaply once more. And yet another duck against his name.
Have you ever gone through a sporting slump, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
It's called your life.
Look, since I won the medal at the swimming carnival,
Swimming carnival champion. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah,
I never won it again. So
no, that's true. That's true.
But perhaps this is just still, the lost it. Maybe the redemption's up ahead. Maybe I will.
Well, I thought maybe you just retired while you were on top.
Well, that's another way of saying it.
Yeah.
I feel like you can for a while lose your confidence in a particular area. I've done it with things like lecturing and with meetings and things like that, even functional things around the office. You're making your case for something and people aren't buying it, or, arguing.
Can you have
like
a sermon slump at your church where you feel like you've given 3 bad sermons in a row?
I haven't in this last year that I've been at this particular church.
Right.
I think I have in the past, though.
I'd like to ask your parishioners before I completely accept that, but yeah.
Oh, no, let's just move on. Has he been in a slump? Yeah, it's funny where I've had a preparation slump where sometimes you have lots of ideas, this, that and the other, and I've certainly had times where I'm like, oh man, what's going on here? I just can't see anything. But generally, you just sort of, you plod a bit and things come together. And that would be interesting to talk through with great sportsmen. How do you go back to first principles? How did you find it again?
Golf is definitely a sport where this happens, where a player can just kind of lose their swing and suddenly just can't play golf very well. It's, or can't putt. I think they call it the yips when you can't putt very well.
Yeah.
And you'll go and you'll employ like a swing doctor, they call them, to help get your swing back, get yourself out of a slump. Some golfers can get it really severely. Was it Ian Baker Finch who had a really bad problem with his swing or his putting, the Australian golfer?
Yeah, and he retired in the end, didn't he? He just lost it, I think, and just gave it away and went into commentating and so forth. Yeah. Greg Norman famously gets it at the was it the US Open, where he that's a little bit different though, isn't it? Getting last day nerves and just blowing it. You're on the cusp of something great and you just can't pull it off.
He used to get that at the Masters, I think. That's like more choking. Choking is different to slumping. Yeah,
it's a bit different, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Like not being able to deliver at that final important moment, yeah.
Mm. It must be incredibly frustrating, particularly at the height of fame. It's a very public failure when you feel like you're doing exactly what you've always done, and yet previously it was bringing you greatness and you were performing the best in the world, and then suddenly it's not doing anything for you. You must just wonder, where on earth, what's going on? And they say it's all up here. You know what I mean? It's a mental thing, and you must. The more anxious you get it, the more worse it becomes.
It's a problem. Even podcasters get it.
Indeed. And I'm in a form slump. I am. And I just don't know what to do about it. The more I think about it...
Maybe we need to get you to the pod doctor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like a consultant.
Maybe. Are there pod doctors?
We could bring in a consultant, help Tim lift his... I don't think you're in a podcasting slump. It's an idea slump.
It's an idea slump. And do you know what happens? You talk about, I think people in these slumps, they try to overwork it. They start practicing more and more and more and more. And I think that's to say, I start doing preparation, and that's always a bad sign. If I'm preparing for the podcast, like if I'm researching, it's not good. It's
the one thing you're not doing is going through that spreadsheet with all the previous ideas we've had to check what's been done.
Oh, that's the one bit I need to do. That's the bit I always forget to do.
I think that's not a bad idea, Tim. Like I said, it's a bit similar to a previous one, but it is different. You've given it a good, simple name, which is a good start. And
I was going to call it Ian Baker Finch. But
yeah, the Ian Baker Finch story. Greg Chappell's Summer of 7 Ducks. Yeah.
In a slump. Yeah.
In a slump. Good name. Good name. Well done.
Thank you. I'm relieved to have pulled off the name.
The Summer of Ducks is a good name for a podcast, though, I have to say. Anyway, sorry.
Summer of Ducks.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go with that?
The Summer of 7 Ducks. Let us do an ad for today's episode sponsor. And Tim.
Finally.
Storyblocks are back.
Storyblocks. Again. Awesome.
Yes, again.
Magnificent. They return.
Yes.
Storyblocks.
Storyblocks are never in a slump. In fact, Storyblocks, which is this online archive of stock video, images and audio that you have unlimited access to download and use in your projects, they got me out of trouble just this week because, as you know, I'm stuck in a hotel room and I desperately needed footage of goldfish swimming in a goldfish bowl from various angles. Even if I was at home, that would have been hard work to organise. I would have had to found someone with a goldfish in a bowl that I liked.
Oh, we've got a goldfish.
Well, that's no good because I'm locked away, so I couldn't have even filmed your goldfish. But
we could have filmed it and sent it to you.
Tim, you're not helping me sell Storyblocks here because
sorry, that's. Actually, our goldfish isn't available, so you should go to Storyblocks.
Your goldfish is not royalty free, but also, let's be honest, Tim. Like, you are a skilled person, but I've learned that photography and filming is not one of your skills. So
I'm just in a slump.
I would not have wanted your goldfish footage. It would have been bad. So what I did was I logged onto Storyblocks, which has an absolute bounty of magnificent goldfish footage. I downloaded it. I put it in my video. It was all done in seconds. It's now on YouTube. Thank you, Storyblocks. You are saviours when it comes to needing stock material media at the last moment. go to storyblocks.com/unmade. If you're going to check them out, storyblocks.com/unmade. If you use the /unmade, they'll know you came from here. Use Storyblocks. Don't use Tim or his goldfish.
No, not available.
Spoon of the week. Ooh, I love spoon of the week. Now, last week, Tim shared the Fairy Tale Castle spoon. It was a bit of a mystery. The civilians have been on the case, though, and I think we know where Fairy Tale Castle is now. I'm 95% sure I know.
Well, do tell.
We believe. Well, I don't know if Tim agrees. I don't know if you've been following this or not, Tim. I know you've been busy this week, but we believe that Fairy Tale Castle, as depicted on last week's spoon, may in fact be what has been renamed Sunshine Castle in the small Queensland town of Bly. I actually thought it was Blee, but I went and did some research and found out it's pronounced Bly.
And how do you spell it?
BLI, 2 words, Sunshine Castle. So I wasn't sure how to pronounce it, so I actually went to a whole bunch of real estate videos, because in Australia, every time anyone sells a house, they make a YouTube video about the house, like the real estate agent does, saying, look at this amazing house in, the southern suburbs of Adelaide. So I went and looked at all the houses for sale in Bly, and that's what they were calling it. This 2-bedroom home with a swimming pool here in Bly. There you go.
Okay.
From the website, it says, the Sunshine Castle is a medieval-themed museum tourist attraction and function venue. This Sunshine Coast attraction promotes history, encourages education, and facilitates unique celebrations. Built in 1972 as the Fairy Tale Castle to only display fairy tale depictions and dolls, it now offers an insight into an era of European history. The castle aims to bridge the gap between the medieval era and the Sunshine Coast's history with a modern and innovative business approach. That is one hell of a bridge to be gapping.
That is
medieval Europe and the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Connections you never knew existed.
Well, I'm looking at this on the map now, and I can see that it's located very close to the Bly water sports complex, which I wonder if actually may have more successfly connected with medieval Europe than the Sunshine Castle.
You're definitely more on brand having a water sports place in Queensland than you are having a Norman medieval
castle. So
but anyway,
we're going to the Sunshine Coast to so are there like poker machines and like a dance floor inside Sunshine Castle? Like how legit is this
I don't
place?
know. I think it seems to be very much a wedding venue.
Oh yes.
When they say facilitates unique celebrations, I think they're talking weddings. But
yes.
Have you figured out? Have you spoken to your mum? Have you found out whether or not whether your dad has been to Bly?
Yeah, I think he has. I think he went to. I saw that this was in Queensland, and Dad went on a trip to Queensland in the 80s on his own. He went up to see some relatives, and
visit a few water sports parks on his own.
That's right. Yeah, check out a few medieval castles, and it was very much a historical trip. Going around some of these unique historical areas. That's when he would have got it. He would have just come back with a bag full of spoons, really, which explains why there's so many spoons from Queensland. There's a few different ones, even though we'd never been there. I'd never been there as a kid. First time I went to Queensland is on our legendary road trip.
That's a whole other podcast.
Well, let's talk about medieval castles. Wow.
About long, boring stories by Tim. Brilliant. So it looks like we've solved the mystery with help from the civilians and confirmation from Tim due to other related Queensland spoonage.
Yep. So, I think we can lock that one. Case closed.
Case closed. Cue the Law and Order sound effect again.
Bring him in.
All right. Yeah. So that means it's time for a new spoon of the week. Tim, what have you got?
Well, Brady, this week I've got a truly special spoon.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to carefully pick it up here.
You sent me a picture of it earlier, and it knocked my socks off.
Wow. What we have here, it's a sort of a double barrel spoon in that it has...
Double header. It's a double header.
A double header, yeah. It's got, it's like a figure eight that is two circles up I call it the handle. What's it called again?
That end. What's that end of the spoon called? I haven't got my T-shirt to hand to check
Not
it.
the scooping end, the other end.
It's basically where you have like the enamelled picture, the ornate part down at the end of the handle, at the holding end, instead of the usual single kind of oval with an enamelled picture, we have two stacked on top of each other. Tim said a figure eight. I prefer to refer to it as an infinity symbol.
Oh, yes.
And
the way to know the description of, like, if you are holding the spoon up and you are holding it north-south and the scooping end was down the southern end, we're talking about what's up the northern end.
Right. We've got a double-headed northern spoon.
And with two people. And they are Prince Charles and, at that stage, Lady Diana Spencer.
Right.
This is a commemorative spoon. Now, I was thinking it may have been for the engagement of Charles and Diana,
right?
Until I looked more closely, because it refers to her on the back as Lady Diana Spencer, her maiden name,
yes,
not Her Royal Highness, the Princess of Wales, right? So that this may have been made beforehand. But then it goes on and gives some more detail about St. Paul's Cathedral, where they were actually married in 1981, and it has the date.
Did they not marry in Westminster Abbey?
No, they didn't. They married at St. Paul's. Her funeral was at Westminster Abbey,
right?
And Fergie and Andrew were married at Westminster Abbey, and William and Kate were married at Westminster Abbey. But no, they were married at St. Paul's. And
look at you dropping church knowledge bombs like no one's business.
Don't tell me about royal weddings. That's literally, that's it. You've got the lot. That's all I know.
So this was made after they were married then? But sure,
well, no, because I think once they set the church and the date, I think they start pumping out stuff. So I think this might have been made in anticipation of the big day, because they're likely to sell a lot more merchandise leading up to than afterwards.
Yes. Do you know my abiding memory of Charles and Diana's wedding was it's like one of my earliest memories, like one of my earliest vivid memories.
How the hell were you invited?
No, well, I'm kind of a big deal. I was I couldn't make it over. I couldn't take up the invitation, so I decided to watch it on TV as a young boy.
Oh yeah.
My family watched it, and whenever there was a big event on the TV, my grandmother, affectionately known as Nan, who you know very well, Nan's a bit of a legend in our adventures.
Oh yeah.
She came around to the house to watch it with us, and she was quite into jigsaws at that time. She had a commemorative Charles and Diana jigsaw puzzle that was massive, and she had this big board that she was doing it on while watching the wedding. So for the hours leading up to the wedding and then during the wedding, Nan was doing a Charles and Diana jigsaw puzzle.
Oh, was it? That's marvelous. That's marvelous. So was it complete by the end of the wedding? Like, did she bring them together?
I remember what it looked like. I remember it had a lot of sort of sky blue colouring to it. And I think the two of them were separate in ovals, much like on your spoon, but left and right rather than Charles on top of Diana.
Oh, yes.
I don't know for how long I can talk about this jigsaw puzzle I looked at as a young boy and can hardly remember, but that's probably about the length of it.
When the Queen, like 10 years later in 1992, when the Queen had her famous Annus Horribilis and announced their separation, did Nan come around and start like dismantling the jigsaw piece by piece?
I don't know. I don't know what happened to the jigsaw later. She didn't keep them after they were complete. I think she just mashed them up and put them back in a box.
Okay.
Presumably your dad was caught up in royal wedding fever to have bought this spoon?
Oh, this would have been Mum. This would have definitely have been Mum.
So your mum did buy spoons too. Your mum was a gatherer of spoons also. It wasn't just your dad's collection.
Well, this is hard to describe. Certainly Mum was the passionate one, but Dad had all the cash. Like,
right. He was the gatekeeper.
Yeah. If Mum had any cash, it would have been because Dad had given it to her, which generally was for the shopping each week or something like that. That's just how it worked back before cash cards and in patriarchal families.
Gender equality, yeah.
So Dad would have paid for it, but it would have been on Mum's request. Look, Mum has an enormous amount of... not an enormous amount, because I know there are big collections, but when you go to Mum's place, you can still see... she's got like the Woman's Weekly magazine, like a woman's magazine, and from the commemorative edition... she's got like a little program, a book, and coloured pictures and all that. I
see where the hoarding gene came from.
I'm not the only one hoarding Prince Charles memorabilia.
So when your dad passed away a number of years ago now, did your mum just go ballistic on the spoons?
Yep, they were up on eBay before the funeral was over.
You just salvaged a few.
They used to be in their old house. I actually was I became sort of the spoon man after that, because they were all up in the house on racks through all the way down the hallway. But then about a year after
was that the hallway leading towards your bedroom?
Yes.
I do remember them now. It's coming back to me. On the left, were there some? Yes.
Yep. So your shoulder would have brushed past them.
Yeah.
You were fully appreciating.
Who knew years later we would be making podcasts about those spoons?
Yeah, I remember looking at them going, oh, they're cool. And we were cleaning up the house about a year later when Mum was selling to downsize to her current little flat. And I just kept them. I just grabbed them. Oh, no, these are cool. I like them.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
You're cashing in on them now.
Oh, man, I certainly won't be getting rid of them.
Content. Spoons equals content.
This one has nothing down the scooping end, I should add. I would have thought there was room there for...
The bowl.
Yeah, the bowl, sorry, yes.
Very plain bowl. Well, it's very top heavy or bottom heavy, depending on what you want to call that end, where the royal couple are. Like, it's a very different balanced spoon.
All the action certainly up that end. And very plain down below. And on the back, though, interestingly, it says made in Australia. So I don't think Charles and Diana personally oversaw this one.
No.
I think this may have been
don't think they
developed by someone else.
No.
So Mum may have got it on the black market. Who knows?
Is it authorised? Is it an authorised spoon, or is it just like, someone cashing in on the wedding?
Yeah. Well, people wouldn't do that though, would they?
No,
Not with
I wouldn't thought so.
His Royal Highness. No.
This is quite a spoon. This must be one of your favourites?
It is. I think, I actually went looking for this one. I was like, I know there's a great one in here. Oh, there it is. Yep. So I waded past quite a few small townships.
Right. Not to hype up future spoon editions too much there, Tim.
Oh no, there are other very unique ones coming up as well, particularly related to the bicentennial of Australia, which is when souvenir makers in Australia went absolutely ballistic.
Does that mean we're going to have Spoon of the Week's going to have its own subsection, Spoon of the Week bicentennial editions? It'll be like a run of bicentennial spoons, a series within a series within a series.
Special 1988 series. Yeah, there's some particularly corny souvenirs that were released that year. Can I just say, there's two observations about these pictures about their majesties.
I hope you did a little bow as you said that.
Diana has an enormous amount of hair here. It just must be said. Even though it's sort of a short haircut, she manages to fit, it's sort of in a bowl swirling sort of thing, an enormous amount of hair. That's just one observation. The second observation is Charles he wears a suit well, it has to be said. The man can wear a suit, and even here, it's got a lovely cut. I know they're sort of tailored, but I always admire the way he wears a suit. He looks...
Rich people have nice suits. I don't know if I've told this story before, but I obviously used to work for the Murdoch family in newspapers. And one time, Lachlan Murdoch, who's Rupert Murdoch's son, who was running the Australian operations, came to talk to us in the newsroom. There was some changes happening to the business, so it was a big deal. So he came to announce what was happening with this restructuring. So he walked into the newsroom and he wasn't wearing his suit jacket. He was just wearing a business shirt, like with rolled up sleeves. I don't know if he was wearing like a tie. If he was, it was just kind of loosely done. So he was just looking kind of really casual.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear a word he said because all I could do the whole time he was there was stare at his shirt and think, how can a shirt fit a human being so well? I've never seen a business shirt look more magnificent on a human than Lachlan Murdoch's shirt he wore to the newsroom. It was incredible because we were all wearing business shirts in the room, and there was me in my, whatever, Roger David, off the rack shirt.
Yeah.
And some polyester tie probably, and he just looked amazing. It was ridiculous. I've never looked as good as he looked that day, just walking in his business shirt to tell us about restructuring the business.
Oh, that's great. Beautiful. There's nothing like a nice shirt. That's nice. I know for a fact that he gets his suits from Anderson and Shepherd, which is like a Savile Row suit maker. And I've walked past
This
there.
is Prince Charles now, not Lachlan Murdoch.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. This is Prince Charles. I've walked past and gone, oh, geez, I'd love a suit. They do. They look lovely, but they take months and months to pull together.
And probably a couple of pennies.
Yeah, and a little bit of money. But I think they go up to I've seen it on a documentary, it was mentioned once, we go up to see Her Majesty at the castle and take some samples and, he goes that one, and then they cut them right. And yeah. Anyway, he wears it well on a spoon. That's what I'm saying.
Even on a tiny little spoon.
That's right.
All right. So the last thing we have to do for Spoon of the Week is do the spin of the wheel to decide a Patreon supporter to receive an Unmade podcast souvenir spoon, which is still in production. Production has moved on. The design's been approved, and we're in the kind of more manufacturing phase now.
Can I just say, it looks amazing. The design is phenomenal. We haven't released it yet, have we?
No spoilers.
Oh, well, no, I won't say anything except to say I was blown away. Really.
Oh, there you go.
I'm talking bicentennial standard. And I'm not joking.
Oh, that's coming from a man who does a section called Spoon of the Week on a podcast, so that's high praise. So the next lucky recipient will be Preben or Preben? Preben from Norway. You will be receiving a spoon when they are finally manufactured, and thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support. Congratulations, Preben/Preben.
Time for another idea? Oh, it's time for an idea from me.
Oh, phew.
I don't know how original this is. I'm sure things like it exist, but the way I'm thinking of it, I think is a bit different. Before I tell you, let me get you in the mood for it.
Right.
Presumably at the moment, Tim, you are in your office, sitting in an office chair.
Correct.
What would you give that chair you're sitting in out of 10 as a mark out of 10?
I would give it a 5.
A 5? What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had toast.
Toast. What would you give that toast out of 10?
Well, we've got a bread at the moment that's not my favourite type, so I would give it about a 6.
Okay, 6. Now, have you been to Paris?
Yes.
Magnificent city. What would you give Paris out of 10?
Look, Paris was ruined 10 years ago.
It's not like it used to be.
It's not as like it was in the 20s. What would I give Paris out of 10? Paris is I want to say a 10 out of 10, but I'm trying to think there are flaws in Paris. The subway's pretty dirty, but look, it's certainly deserves to get a higher rating than my chair or my breakfast.
Right.
I'll give Paris a 9.5 out of 10.
Okay. So my idea for a podcast is called Out of 10. And it's just a podcast where the hosts just mark everything out of 10, from the most mundane, banal things in their life through to the most magnificent things in the universe, like what would you give Jupiter out of 10? with no reference to one another in any way, a kind of crazy arbitrariness, where you could just talk about what you've done today, like every interaction you've had, everything you've eaten, everything you've seen, everything you've thought, everything you've done, every bit of work you've done, through to submissions from listeners saying, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? and you just mark them all out of 10. You give it, obviously, to make it an interesting podcast, you give it a bit of chat and a bit of banter and stuff like that and talk about why you're giving it the mark you do. Mm-hmm. But also, over time, you will just be creating this epic list, which could like sit on your podcast website of every single thing in order, like ranked in order out of 10, and you could just go down this epic list where things like Paris are ranked alongside the toast that Tim had for breakfast in September 2020, like out of 10.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. All right. So
Yep.
I'm in a bit of a slump. What would you give my idea out of 10?
Today's idea,
Yeah.
I would give that a 6. A 6.
Oh, well, now, are you comparing it? What's a 10 out of 10? Is it 10 out of 10 your idea, or 10 out of 10 my best idea, or the best idea that could ever be thought of?
I am not sure that we've had a 10 out of 10 idea that immediately springs to mind. I imagine I would be a harsher marker than you, just in general, because of our personalities. You're a bit more of a positive, optimistic, forgiving guy.
I'm a lovely guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the nicer guy. So I think getting marked by me is tougher than you. Maybe if we did the show, like we would both mark each thing out of 10, and then we'd take an average.
Oh yeah.
So my cynicism and negativity would be cancelled out by your like positivity and optimism. So that would be the fairest thing to do, maybe.
Split the difference.
Yeah. But I just think it would be. It's just a really fun device to talk about.
It is.
Anything and everything in a fun way.
It's lovely because you can do it. You can enter into a critique of something like the film and all that kind of stuff. But it's just a marvelous way to have to nail your colours to the mask on a number. What would you give it? You know?
And I part of me also thinks that I wouldn't allow. I'm undecided about this. If I was making it for real, part of me thinks I wouldn't allow halves or quarters or decimal points because there is something funny about. Just having these 10 values you can use, so that sometimes you will get like, some meal you had ranking the same as like, a city like Paris. Like I do like that. But another part of me thinks having a more granular marking system will allow for more fun rankings. More, my thing beat your thing. My city beat your city. There'll be less ties. Because ties will be less fun. If you were an Australian, you'd want to know how the hosts had marked each city. So having a more granular grading system will allow, cities to beat each other more easily.
Yeah,
But I don't know. But another part of me thinks it's funny to just have to say a round number because it's humorous.
The difference is that it's always a little bit boring. This is from someone who's read an enormous amount of album reviews in like Rolling Stone over the years. They'll do like a big cover story and then they'll cover the album and then they'll give it like 3 out of 5. And I'm like, that doesn't help me. 3 out of 5 is like, yeah, it's okay. Like I don't. It's like a non-ranking. So I almost want it to be more specific, and that's why. A website like Pitchfork is really helpful that gives like a 7.6 and a 9.3 for an album. It's like, adds a little bit. You can actually be harsher and more specific about it. So otherwise you end up giving, Brisbane, 4 out of 10.
So I think you're being generous there. But anyway, so we're speaking on a Monday. I know you gave a sermon yesterday at church.
Yes.
What would you give your sermon yesterday out of 10?
Honestly, I would give it a 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Ooh.
But we're far more harsh on ourselves than we are on other people.
True.
If someone else gave the sermon, I would be giving them that's a good 8.
But you're held to a higher standard. You expect more from a pro like you.
Well, that's right. That's right. For a mere mortal, sure.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, for other ministers, it would probably be the greatest sermon they ever gave, but I wasn't feeling it.
That is true. That reveals a really interesting dynamic that being harsh on yourself is actually a way of congratulating your ultimate capacity, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So we're also speaking at 6 p.m. I know you haven't gone home yet to see the family, so it's not complete. But as it stands, today, what does your day get out of 10?
Like for effectiveness, efficiency, or enjoyability, or...
What does the day get out of 10 is all I'm saying.
All right. What does a day get out of 10? 7. Got lots done. Had a good team meeting.
Yeah.
Doing a podcast.
Yeah.
My idea wasn't bad. Good spoon.
My idea got a 6. Good spoon.
Story blocks is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of in there.
What does that Charles and Diana spoon get out of 10?
Oh, I think that's about it. Look, because there's nothing down the scooping end, I think it's stuck.
You refuse to call it the bowl, don't you?
Because I'm going to change the conversation on this.
Okay. What does it
Yeah,
get? Sorry?
it's missing a bit down below, but it's pretty good otherwise. So it gets an 8.5. And I've got a learned eye when it comes to spoons.
You
So
are, you are quite the spoon connoisseur.
I had eggs Benedict for lunch. That was a highlight.
Out of 10? What'd you give that out of 10?
I'd give that I'd still give it only an 8.5. I think most things are 8.5 out of 10 if they're pretty good.
Right. So 8.5 is good. Like 8.5 is I'm not going to criticize it in any way, but it's not exceptional.
That's right.
Okay.
There's something. Yeah. What would push? I've got a cap at 8.5. What's happened that I would give more than 8.5 to?
My friend sent a pizza to my room a couple of nights ago. This was Rod, who I used to live with. So he sent he sent the pizza that we always used to order when we lived together as housemates from the Hyde Park Pizza Bar.
Yep.
This barbecue chicken pizza. And I tell you what, I now know why we ordered it so often. It was magnificent. It was like, I haven't had a pizza that good in years. I'm going to give that a 9.
A 9.
A 9.
Wow. What's wrong with it? Why did it lose a mark?
Oh, you've got to, because, you've got to leave room for improvement for everything.
Can you give anything then a 10?
There are things I'd give a 10. Like, for example, I would probably have given Paris a 10 as well. While Paris is flawed, like you said, like when you're comparing it with other cities and what it has to offer, like, cities in the world you want to go to, it's gonna have to be one of the top ones. So,
and even its flaws are part of its charm.
Yeah, exactly. A city, you bake in a lot of flaws into a city as just part of it. So I'd give Paris a 10. What would you give Adelaide?
I'd give Adelaide 11. No, I would.
I was wondering how long into the podcast it would take for someone to give something an 11. We haven't even made it, and you've broken the rule.
Yeah, Adelaide, I think it's a pretty good city, but there are flaws as well. But on average, I love Melbourne. Melbourne's my home city, and I give that pretty high. And then I go there again, and I go, oh, hang on, I'm in the car the whole time. Oh, wow, this taxi journey is really long. So you do get a bit nostalgic and look at things through a particular lens.
Yeah.
But living in Adelaide all day, every day, man, I give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. For convenience, it's got everything you need. It's got beautiful weather. It's got the beach, and the hills right there. It's got amazing wine and food.
Yeah.
You're here.
Well, yeah. It's gonna go up to a 9.5 when I get out of my prison cell.
That's right. And then you'll leave and it'll slip back to a 7.
Yeah. Anyway, there we go. That's my idea for a podcast.
That's a good idea. I like it.
What do you give my idea out of 10?
I give it pretty high. I think this is an 8 out of 10 idea.
Yeah.
In fact, it's maybe even a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 because it's meaningless. Like, I love that you haven't linked it to a particular historical event or it's just, it hangs in midair as an abstract idea. That's
the beauty of it. You just never know what's coming. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. It just lives there and exists there. And
it would drive people crazy to listen to. Like, they'll be so mad.
Yeah. Like,
how can you have just given Melbourne a 7 out of 10 when you gave, like, the toilet paper in your bathroom an 8? Like, so, like, it'd just be like that.
This is what we needed when we were talking about the indifferent KFC experience I had because of my refined palate in that area. I was essentially saying is, look, this is a 5 out of 10, and that's just not acceptable. It's just not acceptable.
What's the highest a KFC's ever gotten to?
I once had a 10 out of 10, and it's only happened once.
Yeah,
and usually it's a 9. You're just looking forward to it and you love it.
Yeah.
And
just a 9.
just a 9. But there was one. It was back at our old place, and we were just having, just sitting around as a family. And I just remember tasting. This is amazing. This is amazing. This is really. It was exceptional.
What outlet did you get it from?
From the local. This is on Belair Road in Mitcham, and.
Gosh.
Oh, yeah, no, they were pretty solid performers, I tell you. But
maybe they got in some fancy French chickens that week. French hens.
That's right.
For 1 week only, they had a 12th herb and spice.
That's the X factor. That's right.
Did you comment on it at the time? Did you say to your fellow diners, "This is incredible"? Are you guys?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I said it out loud. I said, "This is awesome. How awesome is this? This is beautiful. This is exceptional."
Were they in agreement?
And so forth. People were largely indifferent, I think. Right. They're pretty used to me just sort of being a little bit effusive in those moments. Yeah. But it sticks in my mind as a 10 out of 10.
Right.
And every now and then I think, am I going to get one of those again, And
it keeps you coming back. The question is, did you lick your fingers?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
It was finger licking good.
Yep.
The sofa shop is your only stop for the sofa you need. The sofa shop, come and drop in. We have a sofa designed for you. Choose your fabric, match your curtains too. The sofa shop ain't gonna cost what you think it will. Don't you do a thing until you see the sofa shop.
All right, it's time for more sofa shop covers.
Yeah.
I have to say, this whole process of civilians sending in their own efforts at playing the sofa shop in different ways has been a double-edged sword. It has made me realise how incredibly talented people are, and it's made me realise how incredibly untalented I am.
Oh, right, okay. It's a funny analogy, that, isn't it? Because a double-edged sword is just a even more handy sword. Double-edged sword is, I can cut this way and that way. It's not like it's good and bad. It's
I can eat my KFC twice as quick.
That's right. It's like, 2 buckets, boom, that way and boom, back this way.
It's a double-bucketed meal.
Double-bucketed meal.
Are you ready for our first one?
Yeah. These are great.
So this comes from Ben in Lancashire. Dear Brady and Tim, here is my contribution to the growing anthology of sofa shop covers. I've named it Smells Like Real Leather for reasons that will hopefully become obvious upon listening. Given Tim's love of 90s music, I hope that this cover version and its admittedly dodgy titular pun are both to his satisfaction. Here we go.
Stop for the stuff that you need. The sofa shop, come and drop in. We have a sofa designed for you. Choose your fabric, match your curtains too. The sofa shop ain't gonna cost what you think you will. Don't you do a thing until you see the sofa shop. So far.
Nice.
So Tim, this is obviously a very familiar tune to children of the 90s, or teenagers and adults of the 90s, I should say.
Yeah, this is a unique take. Just blending it right in, a mashup with a particular song.
Do you want to tell, for those who haven't figured it out? Do you want to tell them what it was?
Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana.
Yeah, not everyone knows that song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It is one.
You don't believe me.
10 out of 10 song.
Is it a 10 out of 10 song, Smells Like Teen Spirit?
It's a very good song. It's a very catchy song, and it's got some lyrics that have become iconic. It's not a 10 out of 10 album as a whole, but it is a good album. It's a good alternative
All right, no,
rock album.
I gave you I gave you too much rope. Now you're talking about the album. let's get back to the cover.
Let me go through some of the songs on the album apart from this one.
What do you think of Ben's take on it by merging it with the Sofa Shop?
Look, like I said, so 10 out of 10 for creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7, 8 out of 10 for execution.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty clever.
I think it would have been better if he got to the Sofa Shop part sooner. I think it was more like two songs bolted together at times. You know, I would like it to have had a Sofa Shop feel sooner, because when I was listening, I was thinking, when's this going to turn Sofa Shoppy? And it did very much towards the end in a very good way. But I think there was too much wasted time. And ad jingles are all about, getting to the cell nice and quick.
That's right. Particularly with a tune as strong as the Sofa Shop.
Exactly. You got to let the lyrics do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one is Max from London. Dear Brady and Tim, I hope I'm not too late to the party, but when I heard about the idea of Sofa Shop jingles, I immediately started having ideas. Unfortunately, I was very busy over the last few weeks preparing for my final exams at the Royal College of Music in London. So he's raising our expectations there.
Whoa, I reckon.
Where I am a percussionist. Having now completed them successfully, I got around to making this, the idea that stuck in my head the most. As a cricket fan, and knowing that you are also a cricket fan, Brady, I thought about using the theme tune to Test Match Special, the BBC's cricket commentary program, as a basis for a Sofa Shop arrangement. The original theme is actually called Soul Limbo by a band called Booker T and the MGs.
Oh, yeah.
As a side note, I would love to know if this is only a British thing or if Aussies too immediately think of cricket when they hear this song. When used as the introduction to a day's play, little bits of commentary from the previous day's play will be interspersed into the music, so I couldn't help but add a few little snippets of commentary about your favourite player, the legend that is Geoffrey Dujon. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you're enjoying being in Australia, Brady. God knows I'd love to get out of the UK for a bit right now. All the best. Keep up your brilliant work on the podcast. Max.
Oh, well played. Beautiful shot. He's a lovely timer of the ball, is Dujon.
Lovely shot by Dujon. He has played some magnificent strokes so far in this innings.
For Geoffrey Dujon, very fine player, and this has been a great innings.
So, Tim, does that sound familiar to you? This song's very famous in England because when the Test Match Special radio show is on, whenever they have coverage of, the cricket, even if they have it on TV, they play this tune. So it's the equivalent of hearing the Channel 9 cricket commentary tune for English people.
I don't think it's familiar to me, but it suits perfectly what it's for. So it sounds familiar almost immediately because it does its job so well. But yeah, sounds very crickety.
I'm sure any English cricket fans will appreciate the cleverness of what Max created there, and thank you for the little Jeff Dujon clips as well.
I'm loving the way they're branching out now, the civilians, on these tunes. Moving beyond standard genres into these interesting mashups.
No slumps here.
No.
So, Tim, this next one comes from Naomi. Naomi says, I'm from Canberra, Australia, and have been listening to the podcast since it first began. Thank you, Naomi. When my Sofa Shop pin arrived in the mail a couple of weeks back, I mentioned that I had attached it to my flute case. As I felt, given how the Sofa Shop seems to be inspiring for music production, that was the most appropriate place for it. Someone replied, you know what you have to do now? And while I was originally going to work on an arrangement for different instruments, I decided to do a simple one for the flute. Quick interjection here, Naomi, you are allowed to submit more than one version. I'm not sure if anyone has made an arrangement in waltz time yet, so I went for that. Perhaps you could enjoy a gentle dance around the kitchen with your wife or simply lie on your sofa and enjoy what I hope is a relaxing rendition. The backing track is electronic and I played the flute. It has been a learning experience for me to work out how to best record the flute when I don't own a microphone to merge tracks together. Thank you for all you and Tim do in making the most cheeriest podcast I've ever come across. Naomi. P.S. Let me know if you would like a photo of the pin attached to my flute case and I can send one through. And I got Naomi to send one, so we'll include that in the notes as well. But here's her flute version of The Sofa Shop. There we go. I thought that one was kind of had a little sort of an elevator waiting room sound to it. Very, very peaceful, very calming.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, the elevator, that's a bit harsh, I think. But it's you mean to say that it's pleasant background sort of music. Is that what you're saying? Charming. Yeah. It is. Do you know, she refers to waltz time. Do you know what waltz time is?
Yeah, it's time to do some waltzing.
That's right.
No,
correct.
I don't. What is it? What number is it? It's something over something, and music timing and all that's is a bit of a weakness of mine. What does that mean? Waltz time.
It's 3/4 time instead of
3/4.
4/4 time. So yeah.
What does that mean? 3 watts happen in 4 watts.
It's every bar has 3 beats, so it's 1 2 3 1 2 3 instead of rock and roll, which is 1 2 3 4. You know, it's 1 2 3. And you can see people dancing. You know that 1 2 3 1 2 3.
But where's the 4 in that when you're just counting to 3 over and over again?
No, but that's what it is. It's 3/4 times. So there's 3 beats per bar instead of 4 beats per bar.
What's a bar?
An arbitrary sectioning off of the music, which is like a paragraph or a sentence in writing. You know what I mean? Like it's an arbitrary.
You're making no sense to me. Your Money for Nothing rendition. What timing was that in?
That was very abstract 7/8 timing, which is very hard to do.
You started using complex numbers in that one.
It's never been. Yes, it's right. It's half numbers. 7.5.
Yeah. 3i plus 7 over the square root of 2. Speaking of which, our next one comes from Dylan. Dylan says, "A new Sofa Shop version just for Brady. Seriously, Tim, don't listen. I know that my saying that only makes you more interested, but stand tall. Anyway, it's a bit crude, but hopefully there is some value to it. If I'm lucky, maybe someone with more skill has beaten me to the punch. Thanks for the show, Dylan."
The Sofa Shop is your only stop for the sofa you need. The Sofa Shop, yeah, come and drop in. We have a sofa designed for you. Choose your fabric, match your curtains too. The Sofa Shop ain't gonna cost what you think it will. Don't you do a thing until you see the Sofa Shop.
It had to happen, Tim. I'm sorry. You knew it was coming.
Yes. Well, see, did you notice the timing though? Oh, geez, that's exquisite.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's very clever. Yeah. No, nice work. Very well done.
Well done. You sound so sincere.
I was talking to myself. No. Patting myself on the back there. Well done. Now, getting to this mashup. Ooh.
Oh, I don't know. That's kind of all that stuff over the top just takes away from the purity, doesn't it? You don't sing to Mozart.
That's right.
Okay, last but not least. Han or Han, I'm not sure if it's Han Solo or Han Solo, but it comes from Han. "Hi, Brady and Tim. I hope you're both well. I'm an American from Los Angeles, and have recently graduated from New York University, where I studied communication and entertainment business. I'm currently back home in LA trying to find a job in the film industry, although that is understandably hard at the moment. So I've had lots of free time to listen to the Unmade podcast and make some music. I play flute, piano, guitar, and I occasionally try my best to sing as well. After hearing Tim yearn for a country-style sofa shop last episode, I decided to give it a go. Sufjan Stevens is one of my favourite musicians, so it was really fun trying to emulate his style. Here's my rendition of a Sufjan-esque cover. It's definitely more folksy than country, and I'm in no way doing justice to the incredible voice and talent of Sufjan Stevens, but it was really fun to make nonetheless. I hope you enjoy it and keep up the great work on the podcast.
The sofa shop is your only stop for the sofa you need. The sofa shop, yeah, come drop in. We have a sofa designed for you. Choose your fabric, match your curtains too. The sofa shop ain't gonna cost what you think it will. Don't you do a thing until you see the sofa shop. Don't you do a thing until you see the sofa shop.
I think this is a 10 out of 10.
I thought you'd like this one. I thought you'd like it a lot.
Really beautiful. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I'm a big Sufjan Stevens fan as well, and I think he's done a superb job here. Yeah. That's a hauntingly beautiful version.
You got that one? You're going to put that one into your playlist rotation for your drives around Adelaide?
I think he's able to find things in the sofa shop theme that we've not seen before. Yeah. Layers, deeper layers.
Like what?
Oh, I can't go into it now. We've run out of time.
Like maybe he's pushing into sofa bed territory here.
Ooh, wow. No, this is lovely. It's very much like Sufjan's album Carrie and Lowell, which I love. And I think he's done a really lovely job. Beautiful work. Go. Very impressive.
Well, that is ending on a high. Thank you, everyone. We are unmadefm@gmail.com if you want to send in your own submission. You are a talented bunch of people, that is for sure. We are enjoying what you are creating.
Yeah, they are. They're I really enjoy these. Yeah, this is very good. Very impressive. Do you have a particular style? You know, you asked me, I wanted a country style. Do you have a particular style you want to hear?
Yeah, what would I like? There are a few things I'd like. I'd like someone to make like an 8-bit computer game version.
Yeah.
What else would I enjoy? I wouldn't mind a few more sort of techno-y dance music ones, because there's something kind of ridiculous about the euphoric sort of nightclub dance versions using sofa shop. So although we've had something kind of in that way, I think there's room for more. Something
with a bit more of an 80s feel to it as well, like an 80s pop kind of feel.
Yeah, but what I'd really like is more... I'd like a greater range of instruments, you know. Let's hear some instruments we haven't heard yet. I don't think we've had like pure violin, bongos,
brass.
Yeah, a bit of trumpet, a bit of saxophone, a sexy saxophone mix. That'd be good.
Bit of Kenny G.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to hear?
I didn't want to have to ask, but I'm surprised your church band hasn't got on the case yet.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, they could get in. We got a bit of brass and stuff and piano and well, so, I'll just let that hang out there, and I know a few of them listen.
Right.
And just see what comes up. Let's just see how they're led.
And then what you could do is get them to play it in a service on a Sunday morning and teach all the congregation the words to the sofa shop, and you could have the congregation singing it.
Get a big community choir.
Yeah.
Major theme.
Yeah. There you go. Rule nothing out.
Sofa shop is the only shop.
Yeah.
Don't you do a thing until you see the sofa shop.